For a lot of games, release day is just the beginning of their life cycle. With continuous updates from developers, games can look completely different after a few years, or even just a few months. Sometimes these changes are not so hot, but it's all in the spirit of making a game the best version it can be. Today, I'm going to look back on all of my favorite changes that have come to Rainbow Six Siege. With each patch, Ubisoft fixes at least a few bugs, making Siege a cleaner experience, but if I went through everything, this video would go on for hours. So in this video, I'm just focusing on reworks, features, and modifications that make Siege feel like a more complete game. GLAZ'S Supervision. When Siege first launched back in 2015, GLAZ'S rifle was way more powerful than it is now. Seriously, it could one-shot operators from up to 5 meters away, even when suppressed. You didn't even have to have a headshot. It felt kinda broken, and Ubisoft didn't want GLAZ to shine as a DPS powerhouse. So they've taken his damage down a few notches, but my favorite change to GLAZ has to be the update to his flip sight. If you look back and watch old clips of GLAZ gameplay, you're not gonna see all the yellow that you're used to. In fact, you'll only be seeing a lot of red. That's about all GLAZ'S flip sight really added, just magnification and a slight red tint, but hey, we don't see red anymore. We've all calmed down now that GLAZ'S sight is way better. In March of 2017, during Operation Health, Ubisoft decided to give GLAZ a more sophisticated gadget with some much appreciated utility. Suddenly, GLAZ could see through smoke grenades and highlighted enemies in bright gold. With his new scope, he could easily spot any enemies bold enough to try to sneak a peek at his allies. He wasn't just a run-of-the-mill guy with a long-range gun anymore. He was thrust into the limelight as a deadly attacker in both long-range and close-range encounters. Problem is, he became too deadly. After improving his scope, that's when Ubisoft had to nerf his damage to what we know now. Even with recent reworks, GLAZ'S high damage and long range are still useful. I'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who'd want to play him without his fancy supervision though. And GLAZ isn't the only operator who got a major overhaul. Doc's Healing Touch. We all know the Good Doctor was a versatile operator, but he didn't start out that way. Originally, Doc's stim pistol could only be used to revive down but not out players. Now, being able to quickly revive your allies or even pick them up from a distance is still a useful trick, but wouldn't it be better to just, not let them go down in the first place? Well, Ubisoft certainly thought so. Once they realized Doc's revive pistol was too situational to be useful, they gave it the ability to heal and even overheal. It was a change that Doc desperately needed. Rainbow Six Siege is a fast-paced game, and the time to kill is super low. Even with his healing stim pistol, Doc can already feel like a niche pick. You're hoping your teammates are playing hard enough to risk getting shot, but lucky enough to not get killed for it. Of course, keeping your fingers crossed is only going to lead to a lot of disappointment. Allowing Doc to heal his allies, though, gives him a much more active and reactive role, and allows his allies to come to him for healing. Plus, his name is Doc, for crying out loud. It only makes sense that a character named after a doctor would have the ability to heal damage. I can't believe he never had in the first place, actually, now that you think about it, which means it's a really good addition to him. Get out of my safe space. Amid all the changes, some things are constant in Rainbow Six Siege. Losing teams will always blame their teammates for being the specific reason they lost. On the other hand, winning teams will always write EZ in chat, even if they barely squeaked out a victory. But the one true universal constant of Siege is the ever-obnoxious spawn peeking. If you're not familiar, spawn peeking is when a defender takes out an attacking player in the first few seconds of the round. Sometimes defenders will set their sights on the attacking player before the attacker even knows what's about to happen. It's arguably one of the worst ways to get taken out in Rainbow Six Siege, and Ubisoft has been trying to fix it for years. They've tried all kinds of strategies to deter spawn peeking. This often meant putting more cover on attacker spawn points to ensure protection from defenders. Protection could mean putting extra shipping containers in a certain place, or something as simple as adding an even larger rock face to the terrain. That sounds obvious, but Ubisoft has never been shy about their distaste for spawn peeking. Some of their best snark is found in their post in patch 2.2.1, which reads, and I quote, "We are always excited to see our players find new ways to advance our game, but not when it makes it a less fun experience for other players." Which is basically a not so roundabout way of saying, we're really disappointed in you guys for not playing our game the way it's supposed to be played. And while all these changes were praiseworthy heroes in the constant struggle against spawn peeking, one particular update is a true champion. let's give a good old hallelujah to patch 1.1. See, the attacker's safe haven is supposed to be outdoors, while the defender's is supposed to be indoors. So to keep defenders in, they will be called out and highlighted to the attacking team if they remain outside for too long. Before patch 1.1, that was 5 whole seconds. 5 seconds! In Siege, you can do so much damage in 5 seconds. It doesn't feel like a lot of time. Believe me, 5 seconds of dead air can feel like an eternity. Seriously, we're gonna try to do it right now. I'm not gonna say anything for 5 seconds while we all try not to lose our mind. Nope, can't even do it. Ubisoft very quickly realized that this gave defenders too much time to get into position and take their attacking opponents down. Those 5 seconds made the attackers feel way too unsafe in what was supposed to be their realm. Luckily, this was a horrible experience that only the beta and alpha veterans had to deal with. The Lord's faceplate. 1 year after Rainbow Six Siege's release, just in time for the holidays, Ubisoft came down and gave a gift to our Lord, Tachanka. As we all know, a gift to the Lord is really a gift unto us all. In patch 5.2, Tachanka got a rework worthy of his incredible holiness. Now, when you hear a rework, you typically think of a major overhaul for character abilities. For any of you who weren't playing Siege by this time, you may be wondering how different Tachanka was before this update. Well, imagine, if you will, the latest version of Tachanka, sitting nice and comfy on his turret. Now remove his windows, and that's it. That's really all that was different. Okay, I tease, but that one change made a lot more difference than you might think. Those little windows are actually pretty integral to what makes Tachanka the Lord as we know him now. To quote Ubisoft's patch notes again, Tachanka has always been the weakest operator, even if he has become one of the most loved. The objective is for Tachanka to be the king of the angle that he's positioned into. Without his window, Tachanka was highly exposed and a stationary target. More often than not, a simple headshot was all it took to take him down. But with the addition of a 500 hit point shield, Tachanka, or whoever else hops on the turret, has the ability to take risks, hold fast, be patient, and engage in firefights. Challenging the Lord can be a dangerous task if he is properly set up. Of course, all this being said, he's still arguably the weakest operator. Seriously, this guy's pick rate is laughably small. So until Ubisoft knows what to do with him next, Tachanka will still be our favorite way to show off. Nothing pisses off enemy players more than trouncing them with one of the worst operators. His shield just makes the griefing even more possible and enjoyable. Project Protect Monty's Kidneys. When Operation Dustline dropped, Ubisoft introduced the new operatives Blackbeard and Valkyrie. New faces are nice, but they also made a number of tweaks and improvements that helped out several old operators. Tachanka could now place his mounted LMG in tighter spaces, and Buck got some new frag grenades, just to name a few. But Monty's change is a little more subtle. If you look back at screenshots of Monty pre-Operation Dustline, you might notice something different about him, something you can't quite put your finger on. Some might be inclined to describe him as a thick boy, but only with one C. Two at most if you're feeling generous. Ah, that's it. Operation Dustline added side paneling to Monty's ballistic shield. That may feel like an understated gameplay change, but the beefier shield pushes his defensive capabilities even further. This means everything from entering rooms more safely, providing even more cover to his teammates, or being able to turtle up in a corner like never before. Originally, Monty's extendable shield only extended vertically, down to his toes and above his head. In comparison, without lateral plating, Monty almost looked naked. This added protection would also come in handy later in patch 5.2 when Ubisoft adjusted the mechanics of explosive resistance for shields. Operators' explosion resistance now depended on how much of their body was protected by a ballistic shield. And look who just happens to have full frontal coverage, up, down, and side to side. Since then, we've seen the release of another shield operator, Clash, in Operation Grim Sky. Her shield also extends both vertically and laterally, so it appears even Ubisoft admits this design is not only superior, but a necessity for large shield-based operators. Clash reaped the benefits, but it all started with Monty. Enjoy the buff, pal, and sorry Blitz, but you don't need more buffs. They're not just your accessories. This next change is a little more technical, but it's made players' lives a hell of a lot easier. Yes, I'm talking about the hitbox rework of patch 2.2.1. Before this update, a character's hitbox was exactly what you saw. Simple enough, this meant every bit of a character's model would count as an area that would take damage if struck. This included stuff that isn't, anatomically attached to your character. Headgear, pouches, baggy clothing, all would count in a character's hitbox. This was especially problematic for the GSG-9 with their massive earmuff headphones. Instead, patch 2.2.1's hitbox rework makes it so the hitbox would only include what you would normally think is attached to the human body. Aside from just making more sense, this new hitbox system made designing future operators and later elite outfits fully artistic endeavors. No need to worry about which helmet will make you more prone to headshots. Now you can pick whatever cool helmet you want for your operator without fear of making them more vulnerable. So go ahead and wear your creepy clown mask, Blitz. This was also a lot easier to test. Prior to patch 2.3.0, crosshairs would turn red when crossing enemy hitboxes, so you could find the very pixel where the hitboxes ended. But in an effort to optimize and balance gameplay, Ubisoft removed this feature. It makes a lot of sense though. A crosshair system that basically tells you when and when not to shoot seems like kind of a freebie. On the current system, all you can depend on is your judgment and eyesight. No pressure. Bigger bullets equal bigger holes. Here's another no-brainer. You want to make a big hole, you need a big gun. Shotguns have always been the king of chewing up soft walls, while pistols are only good for making small peek holes. Simple, right? Well, believe it or not, every bullet created the same size hole up until the launch of Year 1 Season 4. This caliber system was only introduced in Operation Red Crow back in November of 2016. Caliber-based destruction was Ubisoft's way of polishing the destruction tool, improving the physics quality, and providing realistic impulses. I don't think anyone who started playing Siege after Operation Red Crow thought to themselves, "Oh, look at these destruction mechanics." It just feels like a natural part of the game. And that's a testament to how much this change made sense. Of course, stronger caliber shots would create bigger bullet holes because they were bigger bullets. Firing a measly pea shooter of a pistol shouldn't and wouldn't make the same impact as unleashing the mighty Deagle. With this update, our guns weren't just for shooting people anymore. We could also consider our guns' utility when altering the map to fit our preferences. In other words, we had a new way to cause a lot of property damage. In a few years, we'll look back and go, how on earth did they play Rainbow Six Siege without this operator? You mean people were only happy with one Claymore? Or how was Tachanka even viable while his turret was stationary? You never know. What I do know is that we'll all be looking forward to the next Lion rework. Well, I am at least. I don't speak for you, you speak for yourselves. So tell me what changes you are grateful for that came to Siege. And while you're at it, you might as well subscribe. I'm Kyle, or Alpha Lance on all things social media with the Leaderboard. Thanks for watching.